Welcome to the Occult Think Tank. My name is Greg, and in this program, I'm going to be having a conversation with Macnutz about a few things that were on my mind from the last video I did. Because, Mac, you may have seen in the comment section, I was having an issue. I had a falling out, actually, with Deconverted Man. You there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's one that what that was dealing with was in the first video, I think I mentioned it actually in both, of if a guy hits a woman, he's not a real man.
Mm-hmm.
Deconverted Man had tried to be acting like they're still a male. They're still, gender is still X. It's like, this is not about biology. This is not about that at all. It's rather about the behaviors that somebody's engaging in. And I don't even see it as the true Scotsman fallacy, because to me, I was like, you're being stupid, because my feeling is every person with a functioning brain would know what I'm getting at. And the more I think about it, the more I begin to wonder, could he be one that likes to smack women around? So that's why he would go to that route? Because that's the only thing that I can think of.
Well, I didn't actually see that exchange. The only thing I saw was some silly comments he'd made to the first of those two videos.
Yeah, the silly comments, there was one that, because I had said, the other issue that I have is about the idea of an atheist that is spiritual. I have a bit of a problem with that.
Yeah, so do I.
Because, and I was trying to be logical with him, but that just, to me it was more trolling. Because I had pointed out, if somebody is engaging in magical woo-woo type of thinking in regards to an afterlife or angels, demons, whatever the fuck you want to, whatever magical thing you want to think about.
Yeah.
If somebody is going and their thought process is that they go along with A and they go along with C, then logically they're going to go along with B. Especially when A, B, and C are on the same magical woo-woo lines.
Yeah.
That I don't see how somebody can say they don't believe in a God, but they believe in other magical shit.
Oh, I can see that. I think I understand that. I don't share it. I don't believe in any kind of magic, but I do know people who do not believe in gods, who do believe in the supernatural.
See, that's where, well, the aspect of ghosts, I'm kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm open to the possibility because that's not really magic. That's more getting into the aspect of possibly other dimensions. And one of the things I've been looking at on both of my channels are videos regarding the aspect of parallel worlds and claims that people have made of going from one world to another.
Yeah.
Type of thing. I find it interesting, but I can honestly say I'm skeptical. I don't believe it as far as there has to be some kind of logical explanation. I've never seen anything like this myself.
I'm not either. I spent a lot of time when I was younger hunting for ghosts. And me and my best friend, we spent a lot of time hunting for ghosts and monsters in various places in closed out mining towns and such in Alabama. I involved myself in that stuff for quite a while, but I never saw a ghost. I have never experienced such things. And in situations where I've been with people and they were showing me things, real world things, like there was a big cemetery close to where I lived that there was a tombstone in it that used to glow red, bright red at night. And people claimed that it was the tombstone of a suicide victim. And, well, I don't know. I think it took me about a half an hour to discover the real world source of the red light, and which was a traffic light 2 blocks away, but it was just lined up with that particular tombstone. And I have found the real world sources of things that people thought were ghosts and spirits and such. But I've never seen anything that indicates to me that ghosts are real.
Right. It's just like the aspect of Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. I had in the past been more firm in a belief of aliens and so forth, but I have since really started to think about and examine my own experiences and the fact that I can't prove whatever had happened, so how do I know I wasn't mistaken? And if I'm not sure, how can I expect anyone else to be?
Yeah.
And for me to say that I am, upon what basis can I say that I'm sure?
Yeah.
That is where... But the thing is, for a lot of the years, I was very adamant and very animated in my belief.
Yeah.
The thing is, one of the things that has been mentioned, and I hear it from Christians constantly, and I heard it from this deconverted man, that I'm angry, and it's one, you need anger management. No, I need idiot management. Because it's one, even if I don't respond to somebody in the moment type of thing, which a lot of times I do, even if I would try and go back to it later, the minute I would be starting to go into the ideas and the thoughts and so forth would be going through my head, my emotions would kick in just like it would in the moment. So I don't see where the calm down and then bullshit. Especially when when the topic is like smacking women around. The aspect of me calm down, that's not going to happen. Just because somebody that is engaging in that type of behavior, they're going to have me animated. They're going to think I'm a fucking demon. Because it's just... And in that regard, in the aspect of, to use the term, I'm not saying I believe in it, but I'm just to throw it out there as the aspect of maybe there's other dimensions and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
What somebody could perceive as being a guardian angel. Like, to use the term, I have in the past of thinking of it of having something protecting me.
Yeah.
The thing is, if somebody would be coming after me and there would be something around me that's protecting me, what they would see would not be some nice, sweet angel or whatever. They could potentially see a vicious, pissed off, whatever, because the intent is they could be looking at it as you're trying to harm him, this one that I'm trying to protect. So you're going to be seeing a very nasty side. Just like if somebody would try to hurt my girlfriend, even though I'm not jealous and I'm none of that shit, they would see a very, vicious side of me very fast.
So yeah, that's perfectly normal, actually.
Right. But it's one of, that's where this idea of like angels and demons could come down to perception.
I suppose.
It's not that, like I said, I don't believe such exist. But it would also fall in line with what Mark had said about the idea of fallen angels. The only way there can be an angel can fall is if they trip. That it's basically you don't have this good angel, bad angel type of thing. Like good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
It really has me thinking, okay, if we have, let's just say for hypotheticals that there is this whatever, which that also leads into the idea of a God. I don't see how somebody could say they believe in angels, they believe in ghosts, so forth, but not have the God idea in there.
Well, one has to wonder, and I've asked this question of people who say they are atheists but still have beliefs in various supernatural things. I have asked them, well, what controls these things? What tells these angels what they're supposed to be?
Right.
The good guy angel, the bad guy angel. I mean, what is the unifying factor? And if the supernatural is in any way perceived as unified, that there's a logic in it, it seems that necessarily indicates a controller, a mind that is the unifying factor, the connection between various other things that supposedly in some people's minds exist. And I understand how they have the belief they have, but they have thought it through completely. Because a lot of the things they claim, the individuals I've talked to have claimed, would actually require an overwatcher, a controller that they deny. They, on one hand, they deny it exists, but on the other hand, they believe in all these other supernatural things that are actually acting in coordination with each other.
Right.
Like when a person says that everything happens for a reason.
Oh, yeah, that irritates the fuck out of me.
Oh, God, it does. Remember, I was in the hospital, like, my cancer was discovered somewhat accidentally. I had an accident, I fell, I cracked my shoulder, went to the hospital because of my busted up shoulder and discovered I had cancer. And I had one of the chemotherapy people tell me, well, everything happens for a reason. And she was quite convinced that I fell, hit my shoulder, it didn't hurt anything. All of that was coordinated, not coordinated, she didn't use that term, but it all happened to get me to the hospital to find the cancer. But what that would mean is that there would have to be several dozens of things that would have to be part of this, including the piece of cloth that got wrapped around my leg and caused me to fall.
Right.
There would have to be conscious agency involved to make all of those things come together to get this one required result. And that, what that requires would be such a level of conscious agency, you would have to have a unified point, a God,
yes,
to make all of those things, including those inanimate objects, do what was necessary to get this outcome.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I find it not only absurd, but insulting. Because
How so?
it raises the question of, for like a child that's molested, what's the reason?
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. What is the reason for a child to be molested, or a woman to be raped, or the woman to be slapped around by her husband and so forth?
Yeah.
What's the reason for that? What, I mean, I don't get that. It really, I find it offensive. I really do. I find that entire notion so offensive because it's dealing with trying to act like there has to be this grand reason.
Yeah, great plan.
Yeah. And it raises, like, the starving children in Africa. What's the reason for that?
Yeah.
It seems to be a way that people can try and sidestep or negate human actions. That they want to act like there's some overall grand poobah that is behind this. And frankly, it's not the atheist in me that comes out. It's the anti-theist that is looking at that and being, this wouldn't be a good thing, especially whatever entity would be like that would be going around and intentionally setting up all of this negative things to happen so that these other things can happen. It would be the nastiest son of a bitch that could exist. It would have to have such apathy for human life that I don't see how I could regard it as anything but a monster.
Yeah. Well, if it is actually something that has the level of control that God believers believe their gods have, and if the son of a bitch is too stupid and too naturally vicious to find better ways of getting results that it wants, then why would you worship such a thing?
Right.
It's an enemy.
It would have.
I'm just glad it doesn't exist.
I would say it. I'm glad there's no evidence and no reason to think it does exist.
Yeah.
Not to say the definitive it doesn't, because then that can basically people can try to use. See, you're making a claim that it doesn't exist, so you have to prove that claim.
Yeah. No, I understand that, but at the same time, there's also the fact that I cannot in any way absolutely claim without a doubt that there cannot possibly be a God, okay, or even several gods. But when people start naming the very specific characters and attributes, identity and desires of a God, that is something else. Mm-hmm. Because you're no longer a 50-50 question of is there one or is there not one. You're no longer at that point. You've gotten to the point where you are describing a very specific individual.
And characteristics of it.
And characteristics of that individual. And that, I have no difficulty saying, probably does not exist.
Or at the very most, it is a psychological projection of their own ego.
Well, I think that's exactly what it is, because when you look at the God of the Christian, Islam, and Muslim and Jewish Bible, I mean, this is real bastard.
Oh yeah,
and
bastard is a good term for it.
Oh yeah, it certainly is, and of course you've also got the fact that Christianity is not a monotheist religion.
No, not at all.
And Judaism is, and Islam is.
Islam is not. No, it can't be, because it has Iblis and Allah. So you have
say that again.
You have Iblis, which is Satan, the version of Satan in Islam.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
You have Allah.
You're right. I forgot that I wasn't thinking. They have Satan, so they have two gods.
They have to have a minimum of two.
Yeah.
So they're not a monotheism either. not
Yeah.
a true monotheism.
And they've turned their prophet into something very damn close to a god.
Right. So there you got a trinity. Yeah. But it's things like this, what I would find more possible, and I won't even say I necessarily believe it, but I keep it out there as basically a teaser
Mhm.
type of thing. That being the idea of parallel worlds, the multiverse.
Yeah.
I find it intriguing, like the aspect you had mentioned about your cancer was discovered because of having an accident and so forth.
Yeah.
What about the idea of that there's a parallel world where you didn't fall,
Yeah.
where that wasn't discovered, and that you ended up dying? If there is a soul to you and me and everybody, is that also in parallel worlds?
Does what I do here condemn me somewhere else?
Exactly. And if there is a soul in both, are there different heavens? Are there different hells? What the fuck? It makes no sense. You have to keep making up more and more elaborate bullshit to try and explain the inconsistencies in the idea, and that raises the thing with me of why not just say it's a fantasy. It's no different than Star Wars, Star Trek, or any other fictional story.
Well, it's even less than some of the science fiction stuff, because some of the science fiction stuff is possible.
Yes. It's the whole notion. Because when I walked away from Christianity at 24, I didn't automatically go to atheism. I did go to a more deistic type of thing, and I think that's natural.
Yeah, that's really common. When I first walked into Islam, which scared me so bad because of some things that happened, that I went back to Christianity, and finally did away with all religious or magical thinking when I was 30.
Mm-hmm. It's a process. It really, and the brain itself is one. Yes, it can trick us.
Oh boy, does it ever!
Because one of the things that, in the research that I did on the aspect of eyewitnesses, one thing that came up, and I found it very intriguing, is the idea of the brain abhors, basically a vacuum. It abhors a space, an area where we don't know.
I know.
That if there is a period of something where we don't remember, the brain will make up something to put in there.
To fill the spaces.
Yeah. And that is where, even though, like the missing time that I had when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I don't have an explanation for those couple hours that I lost. Neither does the friend of mine. Neither of us were on drugs. We weren't into that sort of thing. Neither of us had been drinking, because I rarely drink. The thing is, there are some that use marijuana, and I know you do, that that have tried saying about like the DMT or whatnot, and I had said in a comment, if somebody is on a drug, their credibility is, as to having seen something or whatnot, goes into the fucking toilet.
Oh, that's a fact. And even though, like I'm a pretty heavy pot smoker, and but I've also never seen any amazing things. But the fact is that, especially if you're talking DMT and stuff like that, these are things that have a huge effect on the brain. Mm-hmm. And your connection to the world outside you is really in your brain.
Yes.
It's not happening anywhere else. The eyes take in stuff, the ears take in stuff, but it's the brain that makes sense of everything.
Yeah, that's
It's the
where
brain that puts it all together and makes it a coherent reality. And if you're doing something that is altering how your brain is working, then you cannot trust what comes out of that brain.
exactly. Because one of the things, I think I mentioned this in my Good and Kinky account, the aspect of perception, that all of us perceive life and reality from ourself as the center.
Absolutely.
That everything is going on around us. And it's the same with like this video. I'm looking at it and I see you. Now I see my own image in because of the camera.
Yeah.
But without the aspect of a camera, and you're talking to somebody else, you don't see your own face. You don't see your own eyes. You don't see your own expressions. You see them.
Yeah.
And if a God would exist, it would have to be something, and it is this, like Christianity puts forward, or even Islam, it would have to be, and even Judaism, you can throw that in there, it would have to be some exterior thing that would be looking at you, seeing everyone else, but not, in a sense, seeing itself.
Yeah.
Because there's also the aspect of, in order for people to say, or religions to say, that this God is everywhere at one time, it can't be a physical thing like us.
No.
Because we can't be in more than one place at one time.
Correct.
The thing is that, as far as I'm thinking of it, is it would mean it would have to be more of, to use the term, all life would be a part of that one thing. That it wouldn't be an exterior thing necessarily that people would see, other than, like, I can see you, you can see me, we can see other people. And that all of that, all of the life that we can see, is a piece of the God. As if, like, to use the term of God being all life, and every living thing is a drop of water in that ocean.
Mm-hmm.
That while each drop is part of the ocean, it isn't the ocean. It's a drop.
Yeah.
And that's where, but if you're going to look at it from that angle, why try and act like a God would want necessarily anything? That what it would want is what you and I would want. It's what people would want. And that is also extremely subjective.
Yeah.
Because there you get into motive and everything of that nature as to what motivation does somebody have to being why they want something.
Well, I find the whole religion thing, I find it's an odd way of looking at ourselves. And it's a very dishonest way of looking at ourselves. It makes it easy to fill those gaps that you were talking about before. Because it is true, the humans do not like having unanswered questions. They do not like admitting that there are huge things that we do not know and cannot know, at least now, and some things maybe never. And so we make up answers, and because we get comfort and security from these made up answers, because the void of unknowing scares the fuck out of us.
Yeah. And it's just, there's a level of dumb that people have that, frankly, it makes me kind of scratch my head, because there's one thing that I want to share with you and everyone else, because it was something that I had seen. Let's see if it was on my YouTube channel where somebody had posted a it was a question of a whole bunch of things, but I'm going to try to pull up my YouTube page so that I can read this to you. And it was something that had come up as basically possible spam, which, well, it really is that. Because, and it was under the Lee Strobel first video, but let me go into that. And alrighty, well, for here and now, I'm going to switch that to being something. Okay, yeah, Mac, they're not going to see you, and when you watch this, you're not going to see yourself, but there is this comment that I am putting up so that everybody can see this bullshit. And it's something that, while I can't necessarily explain all of this, frankly, bullshit, there is, the first says, like, why can't we recreate a rainbow indoors without glass or mirror? Well, my answer to that is because we don't have the water droplets in the inside where the light could reflect off of it, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Then there is, why is there a lunar eclipse on the Jewish festival days of last year? Because that's just the way it happened. There's no, and one thing that gets me is the implying that there has to be some grand purpose.
Yeah.
And why are children indoctrinated with the theory of evolution and heliocentric theory? I'm not even sure what that is, before they learn math. The aspect of evolution, it's taught because it's a fact. The inability of these people to understand what, in science, a theory is the highest classification. It's not a fault of science. It's showing their own ignorance.
Oh yeah.
And
ignorance is it's a curse. It is truly a curse, and it allows people to maintain irrational beliefs that do them no good whatsoever.
This next one isn't really a question as much as it is more of a statement. Do you know there's a fourth dimension unperceivable to humans? Now, I'm aware of this, the idea of multiple dimensions, upwards of like 10 to 11, that has been mentioned in science. But I'm a bit, to use the term, skeptical of those ideas. To say that there is, but it's unperceivable to humans, then how does this person know that there is?
Yeah.
Then there is, how is the modern science still cannot prove gravity? Because in science, the highest classification of something is a theory.
Yeah.
Because we're always open to, in a sense, additional evidence. Nothing is
Absolutely.
set in stone with science. But then it gets into really goofy stuff. How is it that we are on a rock floating in space, traveling at 1,000,000 miles per hour, but we are able to stay on the ground? Gravity.
Yeah. Well, we know gravity is real,
Yes.
but it's not something we completely understand.
No.
It's really interesting. You know, as you probably heard, they did recently actually detect gravity waves for the first time.
Mm.
Yeah, there was from I think it was from a supernova, but it may have been something, another cataclysmic event, a very long way away, several thousand light years, in fact. But there was a huge event that created gravity waves that have actually been detected for the first time that we've ever detected. The theory of there being gravity waves has been there for a long time, but now they've actually been observed. So we're moving closer to actually understanding what gravity is about. I mean, is it really just a pull from the internal of a planet, or is space and time itself bent around large gravitational forces?
Well, it does seem, at least from what and I'm not a physicist or anything of that nature, but it does seem that from what's been mentioned with like Neil deGrasse Tyson and others like him, that the Earth is in a gravitational distance from the sun.
Yeah.
And all of the planets are in a gravitational orbit. That the sun is not stationary either.
Woo.
It's moving, and we're moving around it. It's quite fascinating how, in a sense,
It's moving.
It stays together.
Yeah.
But that gets into how is it that the sun is moving at a faster rate than the Earth, but we never get closer to the sun, nor does it turn us into us while we're orbiting it.
Yeah.
Gravity.
Well, it would appear that the sun's track is actually also gravitationally controlled by things, other gravitational forces in the universe, and as we spin around it, we're connected to it via gravity in such a way that we can't alter our relationship to the sun, because that relationship is created by and maintained by the mutual gravitational forces of the Earth, the sun, and the other planets in the solar system.
Mm-hmm. Now, the next one is, how is it that the moon can be seen in the daytime even though the moon would be between the Earth and the sun? The moon can be seen sometimes during the day. It's not always visible. But that's just, I mean, that would, in my brain, it would be an aspect of it's still reflecting light from the sun. That's why we can still see it.
Well, yeah.
But then we have, how is it that the sun sets, it's getting smaller and smaller until it disappears over the horizon? It makes me wonder if they're a flat earther.
I'm not understanding.
How is it that when the sun sets, it gets smaller and smaller until it disappears over the horizon?
But it doesn't actually get smaller.
No, it's not. It's our perception of it.
Yeah.
Is. But the way it is written here, how is it when the sun sets, it gets smaller and smaller until it disappears over the horizon? And it's not, as you had said. And that didn't even, to me, that's kind of so silly, it didn't even enter my head. The sun getting smaller. It's not. It's just perception of it. But that's...
I haven't even noticed that, to tell you the truth. It doesn't appear to me that the sun gets smaller as it gets closer to the horizon. When it's less right, depending on what's between you, atmospherically between you and the sun, you may see it more clearly. You may actually see the circle of the thing. And it could well be that if you attempt to look at it in the daytime, I mean, obviously it's so bright you can't actually see it. You just see this incredible splay of light.
Not to mention looking directly at the sun will hurt your eyes.
Oh, very seriously.
Yes.
But I don't believe, I believe that in fact the perception that the sun gets smaller as it gets closer to the horizon is because there's more atmosphere between you and the sun, and you're seeing closer to what the actual shape of the sun is, because when it was brighter, all you can see is this gigantic splash of light.
Right. But next is, how is it possible to see a lunar eclipse if it is on the exact opposite side of the sun? I'm not sure that that is even accurate.
Well,
a lunar eclipse
moon is never on the opposite side of the sun from the Earth. Never. Because they're too close.
It can't be.
It's impossible. I mean, it's what, I don't know. I think the moon is only, what, 500,000 miles away?
I don't know the exact distance of the moon from the Earth, but there is no way.
Yeah, it's quite close to the Earth. It's impossible. The moon can never get on the opposite side of the sun than we are on. That's impossible.
Yeah. And I'll read it again just to make sure how is it possible to see a lunar eclipse if it is on the exact opposite side of the sun? That's insane.
Oh, I think I know what they mean. I think. Okay, relative to the Earth, you can have the sun. You can have the sun on one side of the Earth, the moon on the other side of the Earth.
Okay.
But you see the lunar eclipse because it is the Earth that gets between the sun and the moon.
Okay, yeah, now I'm getting what you're saying. Yes, the moon is the Earth is blocking the light that the sun is projecting at the moon.
Yeah.
And the moon is showing the shadow of the Earth, which really debunks the flat earthers.
Oh, completely.
But, okay, because I wasn't getting the visual in my head for what the hell this is even talking about.
Yeah.
And then, wouldn't that make it a new moon since it is sitting behind Earth's much larger shadow? No. It's the same size moon. The shadow is just reflected on it. Right?
Well, yeah, the planet Earth comes between the moon and the sun, and ergo, for a little while, the sun is not, from our perspective, the sun is not hitting the moon. It's blocked by the Earth.
And even though the moon is smaller than Earth, it would still be reflecting all of the aspect of the Earth itself be on its own surface, because that's all it could. It couldn't reflect anything other than that. And for those that are looking at this, there is below that, baby sees Jesus returning in a dream. And there's a YouTube video of that. And then there's this become a Christian crap, which I wanted to share that with you guys because this is just, to me, it's insanity.
Well, it's certainly not reasonable, rational, logical, and it doesn't fit what we actually have evidence of in the universe.
But one of the things, and I wanted to show that as well, to show Christians like that really don't have a grasp of basic science.
No, they don't.
Because I'll be the first to admit, I'm not an expert on astrophysics and so forth, but I have a basic enough understanding to know this is stupid.
Well, yeah, it's insane. Actually, it's just impossible. They're making a claim of something that does not exist.
But
This moon is never on the opposite side of the sun
yeah.
from Earth.
Now, but the last thing, and in a sense to wrap this up, is going back to the aspect of we don't see, in a sense, ourselves, how, in a sense, how we come across even.
No.
We never see that. So in that regard, when I hear people say about I am angry, I'm curious because you're someone that I consider a friend. It's one, do I come across as angry?
Sometimes.
I would look at it and think it's more passionate.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's where we get just into how are we going to define the terms. You're definitely passionate. There is no doubt about that. Sometimes it appears to have an angry tinge, but I don't. What counts is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and when I've had Christians do that number of, oh, you're just an angry atheist. Why so angry? All they're doing is trying to step away from whatever we're talking about. They're trying to avoid the topic by making it about you and your anger instead of about what you're actually speaking about.
Right. And when it's coming from somebody that is also an atheist, it seems to
Or
be the same
supposedly
thing.
so.
Yeah, it seems to be the same thing that they're trying to distract from.
Yeah, it's everybody plays those games.
Okay, because it's one, I look at things and I know from years ago and how I used to be, I'm a hell of a lot calmer. Because
You should have seen me as a youth. I was terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I first got started on YouTube, oh my fucking God. Things, my temper was very short and I would get very outraged very fast. It was a good thing for a lot of that I wasn't on camera. Whew. And
your eyes bugging out, your face red, your fangs down.
Pretty much. Very close to it.
Yeah.
It's just, the thing is, as I've gotten older, I have calmed down more. But I don't see myself as, and I don't think I am, one of these people that is the passive, laid back, in a sense, mild-mannered, calm. Calm is not a word that would be used to describe me.
Yeah.
I mean, even at my jovial, calm, no.
No, I can well imagine that.
And just like patient, yeah. Patient, me? No. Animated, kind of in your face, that's how I am.
So you're a guy who doesn't like waiting for buses or standing in lines either.
Oh, no.
So I can't do it.
Mm-mm. I will intentionally look for the shortest fucking line or the people that are moving like they have a fucking purpose in life.
Yeah.
But it's just... The last thing, in a sense, that I want to touch on with this is... It goes back to what this deconverted idiot had said of, since I mentioned the real man type of thing once, that was the topic. No. The topic of a video is what the person making the video says, either in the title or when they're talking about it from the first place, what the topic is.
Yeah.
Just because there's a calendar behind me with boobs. Oh, I said boobs. Now it's boobs the topic. And because that was what it was like. That's where he was trying to go, and it's like you're being a fucking moron.
Well, when people are doing that sort of thing, they really are, in a sense, he's just trolling because they say things that don't necessarily relate to the content. They say things that are supposed to bug you, and they bring up things that have nothing to do with the topic. They constantly try to get you off, paying attention to something else or being distracted while they're talking their bullshit. And that method of, like wanting to talk rather suddenly turning it into being about your anger or turning it into being about a photograph on your wall, that's just bullshit. They're trying to go at you in a personal way to distract you from the stupidity that they're actually saying.
Right, because like the idea, and I know I've come back to it a few times, this idea of like a real man, and because I looked up and there's a lot of different memes out there for like, and I heard one that I saw was like real men don't cry, and I heard that as a kid.
Oh yeah.
Some of that is cliche, and I think a lot of it is a cliche.
It's bullshit, actually.
Yeah, the whole phrase is a cliche, but I think the sentiment that at least I was trying to get at is there are certain behaviors that a man engages in. Because I had tried telling this person, just because a man is a sperm donor or comes inside of a woman doesn't mean he's a father.
Mm-hmm.
There is more to being a father than being a sperm donor.
Well, actually, that sperm donor part has nothing to do with actually being a father.
Mm-hmm. And in that regard, that's what at least when I'm saying to somebody like a real man or being a man, it's along those lines of its behavior. It's not the aspect of biology. It's not that aspect. It's simply because I've said, and I think I've even said with that, to like be a woman, be a woman, be a man, be responsible.
Yeah.
Don't try using, because I use it a lot with the religious, because especially the Christians, where they want to try and shirk their personal responsibility by saying they think a Jesus died or whatnot, as if that takes away from their own responsibility as a person.
Well, that is one of the aspects of Christianity, is in fact giving up responsibility for yourself as a person. That's one of the reasons that prisons are full of religious people. And the largest group of religious people represented in prisons are Catholics. And Catholics, I'm not down on Catholics, I'm down on Catholicism. It really takes away the idea of personal control and responsibility in your own life. That everything's down to God, the church, or the devil. And this giving up responsibility of making something else responsible for your actions is one of the reasons that they're full of religious people.
Yeah. Because, and isn't it going back to a childlike mindset of not, because when you're a child, when you're a real young child, you don't have to be responsible for a damn thing.
No, you can't be, actually.
Right. So is that really what they want? Is the Peter Pan, they never want to grow up?
I think so, yeah. I mean, and this whole idea that somehow that life is utterly meaningless unless it goes forever.
Yeah.
In which they envision themselves actually being Sunday school children in heaven forever.
And that is something in the aspect of heaven. If I would be in an afterlife or in a heaven or whatnot, even as I am now, and that I couldn't grow, I couldn't change, I couldn't become any more than I am.
Yeah.
What is the fucking point?
No point at all, as far as I'm concerned. Because that's one of the things that makes life wonderful, and is what life is about, is changing.
Right.
Is growing, is learning, is changing.
Because
making yourself more and better by your own terms of what more and better means.
It's not that I don't like or that I have a problem with people like disagreeing with me. No. Just be, to use the term logical, rational. You can be, with me, a person can be passionate in how they're responding to me. It's not as long as what they're saying doesn't strike my stupid meter.
Yeah.
That, in a sense, will be fine. I'm a passionate person. I know there's others that are just as passionate about their position. And that's fine. I can have a passionate discussion with somebody where we're on completely opposite sides of the fence.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a matter of not liking them. It could look like a knockdown drag out type of thing for those that would be seeing it. But it wouldn't be that I am bothered or upset by their disagreeing with me.
Yeah.
But rather, it would be more of, because I get frustrated at what I see or what I hear. And stupidity is one that I really don't have patience for. It's
especially when it appears to be intentional.
Yeah.
Stupidity, arrogant ignorance. I hate it.
Right, especially with like the aspect of trying to say something is like the real man type of thing is a true Scotsman fallacy. No. Or to try and act like every discussion has to be about philosophy and so forth. No, it doesn't. I like philosophy. I like thinking deeper. But that's not all I am.
No.
Excuse me. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.